there's new information out. This was not uncovered by Judicial Watch, believe it or not. It was a result of a inquiry from Senator Grassley. It was a response to this document. This is a document that suggests that there were hundreds of security issues related to the mishandling of classified information on the Hillary Clinton email scandal system. Hundreds. And it was uncovered by our friends at the Daily Caller News Foundation, and Chuck Ross did the report on it. And Judicial Watch represents the Daily Caller News Foundation in FOIA litigation as well. And this is a report by an internal operation in the Department of State that took 6 years, 7 years, Lord knows how many years, to do an analysis of what was going on with classified information on Hillary Clinton's email system. You know, you have to remember, Hillary Clinton was not the only one violating the rules and the law in mishandling classified information. People were sending her classified information on an obviously private account all the time from the State Department. One of the reasons she was never prosecuted was because to prosecute her would have meant prosecuting a whole bunch of other bureaucrats and elected and appointed officials who were involved in working with her. Heck, Barack Obama was sending her emails. So they began the review back in 2016, but it couldn't even get off the ground because the corrupt FBI told them, hey, you wait, we're investigating this. We all know how that turned out. And then finally in July, they began their investigation of July in 2016. Now it's 3.5 years later, they figured out what went on. They reviewed thousands of pages of documents. This is the internal team related to diplomatic security and the, it doesn't really matter what the name of it is, but I'll give it to you for your own reference. It's the Diplomatic Security Office of Information Security Program Applications Division. So APD. So APD, their focus was to determine two things. If any of the emails under review represented a failure to properly safeguard classified information, and if in the instance of such a failure, any individuals could be determined to bear individual culpability. So the report goes on to describe their investigative process, which is bureaucratic and exhaustive. And this is the interesting part, is the challenges they faced, according to the report. The unprecedented nature and scale of this event posed many significant challenges to the APD staff's accomplishment of this effort. I want you to hear that. Unprecedented scale and nature of the event. And that's caused by Hillary Clinton's conscious decision, in my view, to evade the law, violate the law, and use a private system to conduct government and classified business. First, and perhaps most obvious, is the sheer scale of the effort. A typical spillage, what does spillage mean? It's bureaucratic parlance for classified information that's placed in an area or location, both computer or physical, that makes it susceptible to dissemination contrary to law. As I say, Hillary Clinton left thousands, potentially, of classified and sensitive information on the internet equivalent of a park bench. That's spillage. And when spillage occurs, or when they think it should occur, you're supposed to do an investigation. Now, what's interesting about this part is that Judicial Watch asked for such an investigation because the law requires they do a damage assessment when such spillage occurs or when they think spillage occurs. Obviously, the Obama administration was protecting Hillary Clinton, so they didn't want to do a damage assessment. We requested the Trump administration do a damage assessment. And this Office of Director of National Intelligence, they told us it wasn't serious enough what Hillary Clinton did. unprecedented nature and scale. It wasn't serious enough to do an investigation. We sued, and the Trump administration fought us in court. The deep staters in the Trump administration fought us in court and prevailed. They weren't required to do a damage assessment. Don't think the protection of Hillary Clinton ended with the Obama administration. It continues to this day. A typical security violation, for a typical spillage event involves a single email, meaning, this email got out in a public, into a public domain. We have to make sure, see out where it went and who was responsible. Not thousands of hard copy documents to be sifted through. Thanks, Hillary Clinton. A typical security violation involves pre-marked classified information discovered contemporaneously with the incident. None of the emails at issue in this review were marked as classified. Of course, some of that's on purpose because they knew or they thought they could get away with, and Hillary tried to do that, even though some of the material actually was marked classified. They thought they could skate through by saying, it wasn't marked classified. Of course, that's not what the law is. And there's evidence that they were particularly translating information into the system from classified material and pretending and summarizing it, which doesn't make it less classified, to avoid and evade the law. Severe break in time between incident and investigation. I read this. This got me mad. I guess I'm kind of mad on everything today. The significant break in time, 5 to 9 years between when the incidents occurred and when they were reviewed, posed several serious challenges. Listen to that. 5 to 9 years between when the incidents occurred. What's frustrating about this is the State Department knew Hillary Clinton was using her email system for government business immediately. How do I know that? Well, namely, because Hillary Clinton's the Secretary of State. As the head of the agency, she knew, and therefore the agency knew. Her top staff knew, therefore the agency knew. Judicial Watch has obtained testimony from federal court or under federal court discovery orders detailing that they knew early on that she was using this system. I told you last week there was a senior records official who warned them 6 times about using government email systems or not using them properly like Hillary Clinton did. And yet because they hid that and had this internal corrupt cover-up, those charged with protecting our national security, remember, when classified information is classified because its release would harm our national security and place lives at risk. Think about that. People can die because of the release of classified information. That's why we have laws against it. Now, I know sometimes documents oftentimes are classified to protect corrupt government actors. But that does not mean individual employees of the government have the right to leak it or mishandle it. It's got to be declassified under the rule of law. That did not happen here. Instead, it was just placed on Hillary Clinton's unsecure system that, as we've discussed before, was likely hacked. So what happens is, it's nearly 10 years, people leave the State Department, so the internal review's hampered there. They disappear. They don't have the contemporaneous recollections that would be helpful to investigators. And of course, this whole process here, this is an administrative review. It's designed to say, hey, look, this is what happened, and this is the most charitable handling of it. Look what you did here, employee. Make sure you don't do it again. And by the way, we're noting you did it, and it may impact your ability to keep your clearance. But this is all after the fact and retrospective, which adds to the damage to our national security because of Hillary Clinton's email misconduct. A lot of people are getting away with a lot of things thanks to Hillary Clinton's email cover-up. For instance, individual instances of problematic behavior that, if reported as they occurred, would be addressed in succession, were instead all addressed at one time, so the individual did not have the benefit of initial incident adjudication to modify his or her behavior to avoid subsequent incidents. So even if someone innocently had done something like this, because as you know, you don't need intent to violate the rules against the mishandling of classified information. And if you didn't know that, it's not fair to those being targeted here. Statutes of limitations protect protect the interests of the public, and it's not literally a statute of limitations issue here, but the reason we don't want issues like this to kind of sit for years before anything's done about it, it's not fair to those investigated. It's not fair to the public that depends on the investigations being timely done and justice being meted out, whatever it is, either administrative or civil or criminal, in a timely fashion. That's why we want these things investigated quickly. It's fair to everybody. But it's all about protecting Hillary Clinton in the deep state. So what was the conclusion? Their administrative review of HRC's emails resulted in the adjudication of 91 valid violations attributable to 38 individuals. Additionally, APD adjudicated 497 valid violations where no individual was found to bear culpability, resulting in a valid but not culpable determination. Well, I don't know what that last part means. It suggests that there were people who could have been held culpable but may not have been because they were gone. But here, 38 individuals, 91 valid violations, hundreds of, almost 600 violations of national security rules, thanks to Hillary Clinton's email system. Now, to be fair, there could have been violations on non-classified systems if they did this type of analysis. But they were all necessarily violations because all this material was put on a non-governmental server that was unsecure. And these are the final observations. The use of personal email to conduct official business represented an increased risk of unauthorized disclosure. Those incidents, which then resulted in the presence of classified information upon it, carried an increased risk of compromise or inadvertent disclosure. That's Hillary Clinton's email. She placed our national security at risk. And despite the criminal nature of that, no one wanted to prosecute her. And this Justice Department inexcusably has failed to prosecute her or anyone else caught up in this. So there are at least 38 individuals that have valid violations. Is the DOJ going to investigate? This is only an administrative review. What is DOJ going to do with it? Anything? Instances of classified information being deliberately transmitted via unclassified email were the rare exception and resulted in adjudicated security violations. Okay, now let's do the mirror image of this sentence. There were instances of classified information deliberately transmitted on Hillary Clinton's email system. They were adjudicated security violations. I don't know what rare is, but there were instances of purposeful mishandling of classified information on Hillary Clinton's email system. We don't know what that was or who was involved there. Any prosecutors interested in figuring that out? Secretary Pompeo should refer the details, and we're going to FOIA all of this, should refer this to the Justice Department for prosecution. Secretary Pompeo should follow up on this report and refer it to the Justice Department for prosecution. And here's another sentence. There was no persuasive evidence of systemic deliberate mishandling of classified information. Okay, I want to hear what the unpersuasive evidence was. How's that? So like most administrative reviews, they're both exposés and cover-ups at the same time. This report is no exception. And what does Hillary Clinton have to worry about? Nothing from this Justice Department. As I told you, they're still protecting her, and the only one doing anything is Judicial Watch. As I said, we highlighted the mishandling of classified information to the Justice Department, and the deep state, they didn't want to do anything about it. And it was Judicial Watch that uncovered this whole scandal to begin with, guys. We uncovered it. And right now we're in discovery, uncovering even more corruption behind the cover-up. The Obama White House was involved in the cover-up. The State Department knew and lied about it, withheld information that could have exposed the Clinton emails to protect her and themselves. And right now, federal court is deciding whether Hillary Clinton and her top aide, Cheryl Mills, need to come in and submit the questions in person under oath from Judicial Watch attorneys. I don't know if our attorneys are going to give this to the court, but they should. So this report is available, again, thanks to the Daily Caller News Foundation. I'm glad when other people do for you. It's amazing what happens when there's journalism, isn't it? It's amazing. I'm glad that Judicial Watch has a little more assistance out there. You know, we represent the Daily Caller News Foundation. We're always happy to help journalists try to find out information from the government. Hey, even if you're with the New York Times and the Washington Post, or ABC News or NBC News, and I've talked to journalists from all those places, we're happy to provide advice. We're always happy to support journalism as opposed to the advocacy that is passing for journalism these days. People like the Daily Caller News Foundation and Judicial Watch, we do more substantial journalism on these core matters of government corruption than any of the major media. With all due respect to our friends at the Daily Caller News Foundation, no one does more journalism on the key issues of the day than Judicial Watch. We deserve a Pulitzer Prize.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.